The morning sky over Kalis Prime burned with an unnatural orange glow. Kethara pressed her three-fingered hand against the laboratory window and watched the massive ships descend through the atmosphere. Each vessel was the size of a mountain, their black surfaces rippling like living skin. The Torvan swarm had arrived. "How long do we have?" asked her research partner Veltar, his voice shaking as he stared at the scanner readings. "Maybe 12 hours before they reach the capital," Kethara replied, her blue-scaled face showing no emotion. She had studied the Torvan for years, knowing this day might come. The insectoid race consumed everything in their path: planets, civilizations, entire star systems. They were a plague that swept across the galaxy, leaving only empty worlds behind. The communication array crackled to life. Emergency broadcasts filled every channel. Cities across Kalis Prime reported the same terrifying sight: thousands of Torvan bioships darkening their skies. The planet's defense fleet, only 50 ships strong, was already engaging the enemy. Early reports were not good. Kethara ran to the main transmitter. If anyone was going to survive this, the galaxy needed to know what was happening. She began, broadcasting on every frequency, sending out a desperate message to anyone who would listen. "This is Kalis Prime. We are under attack by the Torvan swarm. Our defenses are failing. We need immediate help. Please, anyone who receives this message. We are a peaceful people. We have families, children, artists, scientists. We don't deserve this fate. Help us." The message went out into space, traveling at light speed toward the known civilizations of the galaxy. Far away, in the crystal halls of the Galactic Council, the message was received within hours. The representatives of 3 major species gathered for an emergency meeting. The Axirans, tall and thin with large heads and pale skin, spoke first through their leader, High Counselor Raxim. "The situation on Kalis Prime is unfortunate," Raxim said, his voice cold and calculating. "But we cannot risk our own people against the Torvan. They are a force of nature, like a cosmic storm. We must simply wait for them to pass." The Thornid representative, a plant-like being named Grovesinger Yilin, rustled their leaf-covered branches in agreement. "The Thornid Collective feels great sadness for the Villani people. We will compose songs of mourning for them, but direct action would only lead to more death." The third species, the Crystalline Vextar, said nothing. Their representative, a being of living gemstone called Harmony of Shards, simply observed the debate with their multifaceted eyes. "Then we are agreed," Raxim announced. "The Council will issue a statement of concern but take no military action. The risk is too great." The meeting ended, and the galaxy's most powerful civilizations returned to their safe worlds, leaving the Villani to die alone. But the message had traveled further than just the council chambers. In the outer rim of human space, monitoring stations picked up the desperate plea. Lieutenant Commander Jin Wu, stationed on Outpost Delta 7, was the first human to hear Kethara's voice. "Sir," he called to his superior, Colonel Namsik. "You need to hear this." The recording played in the small command center. Jin Wu had translated the alien language using the ship's computer, but the emotion in Kethara's voice needed no translation. It was pure terror mixed with desperate hope. Colonel Namsik listened twice, then reached for the quantum communicator. Within minutes, the message was racing toward Earth at faster than light speed. On Earth, Admiral Park Hae-jin received the transmission in her office overlooking the Pacific Fleet headquarters. She was a small woman with iron-gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. As she listened to the Villani plea for help, her expression grew hard. Her aide, Captain Lee Dong-wook, stood nearby. He was younger than the Admiral, with the kind of steady presence that made good commanders. "Ma'am, what are your orders?" Park Hae-jin was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the massive ships in Earth's orbital yards. Humanity had been building its fleet for decades, preparing for threats from the darkness between stars. The other species called them Deathworlders, beings from a harsh planet who were too violent, too unpredictable, too dangerous. Maybe they were right. "Send word to all fleet commanders," she said finally. "Full mobilization. Every available ship, every trained crew. We launch within 6 hours. Ma'am, Captain Lee said carefully. The Galactic Council has made it clear they won't act. If we do this alone, we'll be facing the entire Torvan swarm with no support. So? The odds are impossible. The Torvan have never been defeated. Our fleet is strong, but they have thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands. Admiral Park turned away from the window and looked at her captain. In her eyes was something that the other alien species had never understood about humans. Stubborn refusal to accept the unacceptable. Captain Lee, someone called for help. That's all I need to know. Across Earth and its colonies, the mobilization began. It was the largest military operation in human history. Ships that had been patrolling the asteroid belt were called home. Colony defense fleets abandoned their posts. Even civilian cargo vessels were pressed into service as supply ships. The flagship of the fleet would be the UES Thunderstrike, a massive dreadnought that had never seen real combat. Captain Lee Dong-wook took command of the ship, while Admiral Park coordinated the entire operation from the bridge. Dr. Kim Min-ho, the fleet's head of xenobiology, worked frantically to learn everything he could about both the Villani and the Torvan. The Villani appeared to be a peaceful species focused on art and science. The Torvan were the opposite, a hive mind of insectoid creatures that saw all other life as food. Commander Choi Soo-jin prepared her fighter squadrons for combat unlike anything they had trained for. Her pilots called themselves the Soul Reapers, and they were the best humanity had to offer. But even they had never faced an enemy like the Torvan. As the human fleet gathered in Earth's orbit, other species watched in amazement. The Exirans calculated that humanity had mobilized over 800 ships in less than a day. It was more firepower than most civilizations possessed in total. "They're actually going to do it," whispered High Counselor Raxum as he watched the human fleet through long-range sensors. "The mad Deathworlders are really going to attack the Torvan." Grove singer Yilan rustled nervously. "Should we warn them? Tell them how hopeless it is?" "They already know," said Harmony of Shards, speaking for the first time. "But they don't care. This is what makes them dangerous." On Kalis Prime, the situation grew worse by the hour. Torvan ground forces had landed in dozens of locations. The insectoid creatures, each the size of a small building, tore through Villani cities like paper. Their only goal was consumption, eating everything organic and stripping away everything useful. Cathera huddled in an underground bunker with 100 other survivors. Above them, they could hear the sounds of destruction as their world died. The scientist still held hope that someone, somewhere, had heard her message and was coming to help. She had no way of knowing that 847 human warships were racing through hyperspace toward her world, carrying crews who had never heard of the Villani before that morning but were willing to die for them anyway. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone foolish enough to call Deathworlders for help actually got an answer. 6 months after the Battle of Kalis Prime, Captain Lee Dong-wook stood in the rebuilt gardens of New Villani City, watching alien children play among flowers that had been extinct for a generation. The Villani had a gift for growing things. Even on a world scarred by the Torvan assault, they had coaxed life from poisoned soil and created beauty from devastation. "The atmospheric processors are working better than we hoped," Kithara said beside him, her blue-scaled face showing the kind of contentment that comes from seeing one's world heal. "Your human engineering combined with our biotechnology has accomplished in months what we thought would take decades." Lee smiled as he watched a group of young Villani carefully tending a grove of earth oak trees, a gift from humanity to their new allies. The trees looked strange in the alien soil, but they were growing strong, their roots intertwining with native Villani plants in ways that created something entirely new. "Ambassador Lee," came a voice behind them. He turned to see Admiral Park Hye-jin approaching, wearing the formal uniform of the newly established Human Villani Defense Pact. Her promotion to head of the alliance had been unanimous. No one else had the respect of both species' military forces. "Admiral," Lee replied, straightening slightly. Old habits died hard, even in his new role as the first human diplomatic representative to the Villani government. We just received another one, Admiral Park said, holding up a data pad. 3 systems in the Helix arm are reporting attacks by unknown hostiles. The local governments are requesting immediate assistance from the Defense Pact. Lee felt a familiar stirring, the same feeling he had experienced when Cathara's first desperate message had reached human space. Someone, somewhere, needed help. What do we know about the attackers? Not much yet. They're using some kind of crystalline technology that our databases don't recognize. But the pattern is familiar. Systematic destruction. No attempt at communication. Complete disregard for civilian populations. Dr. Kim Min-ho joined their conversation, having approached while they were talking. The xenobiologist now directed the Institute for Hybrid Technologies, where human and Villani scientists worked together to push the boundaries of what was possible. I've been analyzing the initial reports, he said, pulling up holographic displays from his portable unit. Whatever these attackers are, they're not like the Torvin. The Torvin wanted to consume and convert. These new hostiles seem to want complete annihilation. How soon can we deploy? Lee asked, though he already knew the answer. The Defense Pact maintained a rapid response fleet specifically for situations like this. The Soul Reapers are ready to launch within 6 hours, Admiral Park replied. Commander, Choi has been training mixed-species squadrons. Her pilots include humans, Villani, and even a few volunteers from other species who want to learn our tactics. Commander Choi Soo-jin had become something of a legend throughout the galaxy. Her victory over the Torvin swarm had proven that human unpredictability, when combined with alien biotechnology, could defeat seemingly impossible odds. Now young beings from dozens of species competed for the chance to train under her command. The Axarans have also requested a training exchange, Admiral Park continued. They want to learn what they call Deathworlder combat techniques. Apparently their calculations now show a 73% probability that we'll encounter more galactic-level threats in the coming years. Lee chuckled at that. High Counselor Raxum, who had once demanded that humanity abandon the Villani to their fate, now sent regular diplomatic messages requesting closer ties with the Defense Pact. The tall, pale aliens had discovered that their advanced technology worked very well when combined with human tactical thinking. What about the Thornids? Cathara asked. Grove Singer Yilun has offered to provide agricultural support for any refugee populations we might need to relocate, Dr. Kim replied. They're also composing what they call victory songs about the Battle of Kalis Prime. Apparently, saving an entire species from extinction is considered worthy of their highest musical honors. Even the mysterious Vextar had begun sharing their crystalline wisdom with the Defense Pact. The gemstone beings who had remained silent during humanity's first encounter with the Torvin now provided strategic analysis and long-term planning support. Their ability to process vast amounts of data had proved invaluable in preparing for future threats. But the real change in galactic civilization went deeper than military alliances or technological exchanges. For the first time in known history, species were working together not for mutual benefit or shared resources, but because someone had demonstrated that helping others was worth any sacrifice. Ambassador Lee, came a young voice in carefully pronounced English. He turned to see a small Villani child holding a drawing, a crude but recognizable picture of human ships fighting monsters in space. What's this? He asked, kneeling down to the child's level. It's you, the child said proudly. You and the other Sky Warriors who came when the Dark Eaters tried to hurt us. Mama says you came from so far away just to help us, even though you didn't know us. Lee felt something tighten in his throat. Yes, we did. Why? It was such a simple question, but it cut to the heart of everything that had changed in the galaxy. Lee looked up at Admiral Park, Dr. Kim, and Cathara, seeing the same understanding in all their faces. Because you asked for help, he said finally. And that's what people do for each other. The child nodded as if this made perfect sense and ran off to show the drawing to friends. But the adults remained quiet for a moment, contemplating the implications of that simple exchange. The Council is calling an emergency session next week, Admiral Park said eventually. They want to formalize what they're calling the Galactic Mutual Defense Protocol. Essentially, they want to make our response to the Kele situation the standard for all member species. Will it work? Cathara asked. Dr. Kim shrugged. The Axirans will calculate probabilities. The Thornids will compose songs about it. The Vextar will process data. But will they actually respond when someone calls for help? That remains to be seen. They will, Lee said with quiet confidence. Because they've seen what happens when someone does. The Battle of Kalis Prime didn't just save the Villani. It showed the galaxy that impossible things become possible when people refuse to give up on each other. As if summoned by their conversation, Lee's communication device chirped with an incoming message. The holographic display showed Admiral Song Mi-young calling from the Defense Pact headquarters on Luna. Lee, we're getting multiple reports of the crystalline attackers. They've hit 7 systems now and the pattern is accelerating. We need the combined fleet mobilized immediately. How many ships? Admiral Park asked, moving into view of the communication pickup. Everything we have. This isn't a single species under attack. It's a coordinated assault on multiple civilizations simultaneously. We're looking at the largest military operation since Kalis Prime. Lee felt the familiar stirring again, stronger this time. But now it was mixed with something else. Confidence. They had faced impossible odds before and won through determination, innovation, and the willingness to sacrifice for others. They could do it again. Admiral, he said, request permission to return to active duty. Granted, you'll command the diplomatic mission while I handle fleet operations. We need someone the aliens trust to coordinate with their governments. As they prepared to leave the peaceful gardens of New Villani City, Cathara touched Lee's arm. Ambassador, when you saved us, did you know it would lead to all this? The alliance, the new technologies, the change in how species interact with each other? Lee considered the question. No, we didn't. We just knew that people were dying and we had to help. And that was enough. That was everything. The Defense Pact fleet that assembled over the next few days was the largest military force in galactic history. Humans provided the tactical leadership and technological backbone. Villani contributed their biotechnology and deep understanding of organic systems. Axirans brought advanced sensors and computational power. Thornids offered logistical support and agricultural expertise for refugee operations. Even the Vextar provided strategic planning and data analysis. But the real strength of the fleet wasn't its technology or numbers. It was the shared understanding that when someone called for help, civilized beings answered that call. As the massive fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Admiral Park broadcast a message to all ships. 6 months ago, we learned what happens when decent people refuse to abandon those in need. Today, we take that lesson to the stars. Whatever we find out there, whatever impossible odds we face, remember that we're not fighting for conquest or resources or political advantage. We're fighting because someone asked for help, and that's what civilized beings do. The fleet jumped to hyperspace in perfect formation, thousands of ships from dozens of species, united by the simple principle that helping others was worth any sacrifice. Behind them, in the rebuilt gardens of New Villani City, alien children played among earth oak trees while their parents worked to create a better galaxy for everyone, and, in the depths of space, new signals arrived, more desperate calls for help from civilizations under attack by unknown enemies. But this time, those calls would not go unanswered. The galaxy had learned a new lesson from the Deathworlders. When someone asks for help, you answer the call. The hyperspace alert came at 0347 hours ship time. Captain Lee Dong-wook was grabbed from sleep by the urgent klaxon that meant only one thing: massive fleet movement detected. He rolled out of his bunk aboard the UES Thunderstrike and reached the bridge in less than 2 minutes, still pulling on his uniform jacket. Report, he ordered the night watch officer. Sir, we're detecting over 2,000 ships dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Human ships, sir, it's the second wave. Lee felt something he hadn't felt in days. Hope. Admiral Park Hyejin arrived on the bridge moments later, having also been awakened by the alerts. She looked older than she had when this all started, her face marked by the strain of commanding the longest space battle in human history. But her eyes were still sharp, still determined. Communications. Get me a channel to the incoming fleet. The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of another human warship. The woman who appeared was Admiral Song Mi-young, commander of the Seoul Defense Force and Park's former mentor at the Naval Academy. "Hello, Hee-jin," Admiral Song said with a slight smile. "Thought you might need some help out here." "Mi-young?" Admiral Park replied, her voice showing emotion for the first time in days. "How many ships did you bring?" 2,037. Every available vessel from Sol to the Centauri colonies. We've been building and training since your first reports came in." Admiral Song's expression grew serious. "How bad is it?" "We've lost nearly half our fleet, but we evacuated over 800 Volani survivors. The Torvan aren't giving up. They keep sending more ships. I think we made them angry." "Good. It's about time someone did." As the second wave fleet moved into the system, the Torvan swarm reacted immediately. Their bioships, which had been systematically hunting down the scattered remains of the original human fleet, began forming new attack formations. The Queen Mind focused its vast attention on these fresh enemies, calculating new strategies to deal with the increased human presence. But something had changed during the brief lull in fighting. Dr. Kim Min-ho, working with Cathara and the other rescued Volani scientists, had made a breakthrough in understanding Torvan biology. "Admiral," he reported to Park from his laboratory aboard the Thunderstrike, "we've been analyzing the biosamples from destroyed Torvan ships. Cathara's research was correct. They operate on specific neural frequencies that coordinate their hive mind behavior. And," Admiral Park asked, though she could already guess where this was leading, "the Volani have biotechnology we've never seen before. They can actually interface their biological systems with our electronic ones. If we combine their bio-neural networks with our AI systems, we might be able to disrupt the Torvan's coordination on a massive scale." Cathara, still weak from her ordeal in the underground bunkers, appeared on the screen beside Dr. Kim. The blue-scaled scientist looked determined despite her exhaustion. "Admiral Park," she said in careful translated English, "my people have studied the Torvan for generations, always knowing they would come for us someday. We developed biotechnology specifically designed to interfere with their neural patterns, but we never had weapons powerful enough to deliver it effectively. And now you do," Admiral Park realized. "Human weapon systems, combined with Volani, bio-neural technology," Dr. Kim added excitedly. "We could create hybrid weapons that disrupt their hive-mind coordination while delivering conventional damage. But we'd need to modify our ship's systems, and we'd need to get close to their command vessels to make it work." Admiral Park looked at the tactical display, where thousands of Torvan bioships were beginning another coordinated assault on the combined human fleets. The enemy still outnumbered them significantly, but for the first time since this battle began, she saw a path to victory. "How long do you need for the modifications?" 6 hours minimum for a full retrofit. But we could start with a few test ships in maybe 2 hours. Do it. Start with the Thunderstrike and work your way through the fleet as fast as you can." The next phase of the battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Human and Volani scientists worked together in heated laboratory spaces while battles raged around them. They combined technologies that no one had ever imagined could work together. Human engineering precision with alien biotechnology, artificial intelligence networks with organic neural systems. Captain Lee coordinated the ship modifications while Admiral Park commanded the overall battle. The Thunderstrike became a test platform for the new hybrid technology, its weapon systems rebuilt to incorporate Volani bio-neural interfaces. "It feels alive," reported Commander Choi Soo-jin as she tested one of the modified fighters. Her ship's systems now included organic components that seemed to think and react independently. "The bio-neural network is actually predicting Torvan movements before they happen." "How?" asked Admiral Park over the communication channel. "I think it's reading their collective mind somehow. When they're about to coordinate an attack, I can feel it through the interface." This was the breakthrough they needed. The Volani biotechnology could actually tap into the Torvan's shared consciousness, giving human pilots advance warning of enemy tactics. But more importantly, it could also disrupt those same neural networks when properly weaponized. The first test came when a squadron of modified human fighters engaged a formation of Torvan bioships. Commander Choi led the attack, her enhanced systems allowing her to anticipate every move the enemy made. "All squadrons, this is Reaper Leader," she transmitted. "The bio-neural interface is showing me their attack pattern before they execute. They're going to try a pincer movement in 30 seconds. Break formation now and counterattack from above." The human fighters scattered just as the Torvan began their coordinated maneuver, but the aliens found themselves attacking empty space while human weapons struck from completely unexpected angles. More importantly, the bio-neural disruption weapons caused visible confusion in the enemy formation, as their shared consciousness was temporarily scrambled. "It works," Dr. Kim reported excitedly. "The disruption effect is causing coordination failures across their entire local network. They're fighting like individuals instead of a collective mind." Word of the success spread through both fleets. Human crews worked frantically to retrofit more ships with the hybrid technology, while the Villani survivors helped translate their biotechnology for human use. Species that had never fought together before found themselves working as partners against a common enemy. Admiral Song's fresh fleet provided cover for the modification process. Her ships, still using conventional weapons, engaged the Torvan in traditional combat, while the hybrid vessels prepared for more specialized attacks. But the Queen Mind was learning too. The collective consciousness began adapting its tactics, creating new bioship variants specifically designed to counter the human-Villani hybrid technology. The ancient intelligence that had consumed countless civilizations was not going to be defeated easily. The turning point came when Captain Lee volunteered the Thunderstrike for the most dangerous mission of the war, a direct assault on the Torvan, command ships hidden deep within the gas giant's atmosphere. These massive bioships, each the size of a small moon, coordinated the entire swarm's activities in the system. "Admiral," he reported to Park, "Dr. Kim thinks that if we can disrupt the command ship's neural networks directly, it might cause coordination failures across the entire Torvan force. But we'd have to get inside the gas giant's atmosphere and fight our way to the command vessels. That's suicide, Captain. The atmospheric pressure alone would crush most of our ships. The Thunderstrike was built for deep space mining operations. She can handle the pressure, and with the new hybrid systems, we might actually have a chance." Admiral Park looked at her protege and saw the same determination that had brought them this far. "Very well. But you're not going alone. I'll coordinate a full fleet assault to give you cover." The Battle of the Gas Giant became the stuff of legends. Over 3,000 human ships, many now equipped with Villani biotechnology, dove into the crushing atmosphere of the massive planet, while thousands of Torvan bioships rose to meet them. The battle was fought in crushing gravity, toxic gases, and complete darkness except for the flashes of weapons fire. Captain Lee piloted the Thunderstrike deeper into the planet's atmosphere than any human ship had ever gone. Around him, his crew worked with Villani scientists to calibrate the bio-neural disruption weapons for maximum effect against the command ships. "There," Keth Ara pointed at the sensor display. "Those massive shapes ahead. Those are the Queen Minds, primary coordination vessels." The command ships were enormous, living creatures that pulsed with bioelectrical activity. Each one was a node in the Torvan's collective consciousness, coordinating the activities of thousands of smaller bioships throughout the system. "All weapons target the neural clusters Dr. Kim identified," Captain Lee ordered. "We only get one shot at this." The Thunderstrike's hybrid weapons fired in perfect synchronization, human engineering precision guided by Villani biotechnology. The bio-neural disruption beams struck the command ships at exactly the frequencies needed to scramble their collective consciousness. The Queen Mind was ancient beyond measure. Its consciousness spread across millions of Torvan drones throughout the galaxy. For countless eons, it had directed the swarm from world to world, consuming civilizations and growing stronger with each conquest. Never in its vast memory had any species dared to fight back with such determination. 3 additional swarm fleets converged on the Kalis system, their bioships emerging from hyperspace in perfectly coordinated formations. The Queen Mind focused its attention on these unprecedented enemies, the creatures the galaxy called Deathworlders, who fought like no other species it had encountered. Admiral Park Hae-jin watched the tactical display as the enemy numbers climbed from 10,000 to over 30,000 bioships. The human fleet, already battered from hours of continuous combat, now faced odds that would make even the most optimistic person despair. "Ma'am," Captain Lee Dong-wook reported from his station, "we've successfully evacuated 612 Vellani survivors, but we're losing ships faster than we can replace them. The Olympus and the Sol are gone. The Busan is heavily damaged and falling back." The bridge shuddered as another Torvan weapon struck their shields. The UES Thunderstrike, humanity's most powerful warship, bore the scars of the longest continuous battle in human history. Fires had broken out on 3 decks. The engineering section reported that their main reactor was operating at dangerous levels, but they kept fighting. Dr. Kim Min-ho worked frantically in his laboratory, analyzing samples of Torvan biotechnology, recovered from destroyed bioships. The alien creatures were unlike anything in human experience, living weapons bred for perfect efficiency and destruction. "I'm seeing something interesting," he reported to the Admiral over the communication system. "The Torvan bioships share neural networks with each other. It's how they coordinate so perfectly. But it might also be a weakness we can exploit." "Explain." "If we could disrupt their network somehow, it might cause coordination failures across their entire formation. The problem is figuring out how to do it without getting close enough for them to tear us apart." Commander Choi Soo-jin led what remained of the Soul Reapers in another desperate attack run. Her fighter squadron had started the battle with 60 pilots. Now she had 18. But those 18 were the best humanity had to offer, veterans of a dozen colonial wars who refused to give up while Vellani civilians still needed protection. "This is Reaper Leader," she transmitted to her remaining pilots. "The new Torvan formations are different. They're trying to surround our capital ships. We need to break their coordination before they can complete the maneuver." Lieutenant Park Jung-min, flying despite injuries from his previous encounters, responded immediately. "Reaper 7 ready. These things might be fast, but they still think too much alike. If we hit them from 4 different directions at once, their hive mind will have trouble adapting." "Affirmative. All Reapers, execute attack pattern Delta on my mark." The human fighters scattered like seeds in the wind, each pilot taking a different route toward their targets. The Torvan bioships tried to coordinate their response, but the Queen Mind found itself facing something new. Truly unpredictable behavior that followed no pattern it could calculate. Commander Choi dove her fighter between 2 massive Torvan capital ships, her weapons blazing as she targeted what Dr. Kim had identified as neural connection points. The alien vessels tried to respond, but her attack came from an angle their collective consciousness hadn't anticipated. Behind her, Lieutenant Park and his wingman struck from below, while the rest of the squadron hit from above and to the side. The Torvan formation, which had been moving in perfect coordination moments before, suddenly began to falter as damaged neural links disrupted their shared awareness. It was a small victory, but it proved something important. The Torvan could be confused, could be outmaneuvered, could be beaten by opponents who refused to think the way they expected. On the planet's surface, the evacuation continued under increasingly desperate conditions. Human Marines fought running battles through the ruins of Vellani cities, protecting civilian evacuation routes while Torvan ground forces closed in from all sides. Sergeant Major Lee Sung-ho found himself defending the last major survivor bunker, with only 12 Marines against over 50 Torvan warriors. The insectoid creatures were enormous, each one weighing several tons and armed with natural weapons that could shred human armor. But the Marines had advantages the aliens couldn't match: tactical flexibility, superior weapons technology, and the absolute determination to protect innocent lives. "Corporal Kim," he called to his communications specialist, "how long until the next evacuation shuttle arrives?" 8 minutes, Sergeant Major, but I don't know if we can hold them that long." "We'll hold them. We didn't come this far to fail now." The Torvan attacked in waves, their massive forms crushing through the rubble of destroyed buildings. Human weapons fired in carefully coordinated volleys, each shot placed with precision to exploit the aliens' few vulnerable spots. When ammunition ran low, The Marines used improvised explosives made from Volani industrial chemicals. When those ran out, they fought with whatever they could find. In her underground laboratory, Kithara worked alongside Dr. Kim Min-ho via communication link, sharing everything she knew about Torvan biology. The human scientist had asked her about the aliens' neural networks, and she was providing detailed analysis based on years of research. The Torvan are essentially one organism distributed across millions of bodies, she explained. But their coordination depends on specific bioelectrical frequencies. If you could disrupt those frequencies, we could break their formation control, Dr. Kim finished. But we'd need to modify our weapons to generate the right kind of interference, and we'd need to get close enough to their command ships to make it work. Above them, Admiral Park faced the hardest decision of her career. The human fleet was being systematically destroyed. They had saved most of the Volani survivors, but at a cost that threatened the future of human expansion into space. Nearly half their ships were gone or too damaged to fight effectively, and still the Torvan kept coming. Admiral, came a transmission from the Galactic Council. This is High Counselor Raxum. We formally demand that you withdraw your forces immediately. Your continued resistance is destabilizing the entire system and threatening Council interests. Admiral, Park looked at the message with disgust. Send a reply. Tell the Council that when the Torvan are done with the Volani, they'll keep spreading. Ask them where they think the swarm will go next. The reply came back quickly, and this time it was Grove Singer Yillan of the Thornid Collective. Honored. Admiral, we understand your concerns, but the Torvan always return to their deep space territories after consuming a system. They do not expand their hunting grounds unnecessarily. Tell them, Admiral Park said grimly, that this time might be different. We've made them angry. She was right. The Queen Mind had never encountered resistance like this before. These Deathworlders fought with a ferocity and unpredictability that threatened its perfect order. For the first time in its existence, the collective consciousness felt something approaching frustration. More Torvan fleets were being diverted from other operations. The Queen Mind wanted these humans destroyed completely, their entire species eliminated so they could never threaten the swarm's order again. Captain Lee coordinated the fleet's fighting retreat, while rescue operations continued on the planet below. Admiral, we've got problems. The new Torvan formations are different. They're not just trying to destroy us anymore, they're trying to capture our ships intact. Probably want to study our technology, Admiral Park replied. Don't let them. Damaged ships are to be scuttled rather than captured. Make sure all hands are evacuated first. The next few hours were the most brutal in human military history. Ship after ship fell to the Torvan onslaught, their crews fighting to the last moment before activating self-destruct systems. The aliens captured some human technology, but they paid a terrible price for it. Commander Choi's fighters ran out of ammunition and began ramming attacks on Torvan bioships. Her pilots, trained from childhood to survive in the harshest environments, proved that human stubbornness could overcome even impossible odds. Every ramming attack destroyed both the fighter and its target, but it also bought precious time for the evacuation shuttles. On the surface, the last group of Marines held their position until the final evacuation shuttle could lift off. Sergeant Major Lee watched through his helmet display as the craft carrying Kithara and 43 other Volani survivors disappeared into the burning sky above. All teams, this is groundside command, came the voice of Admiral Park from orbit. Evacuation is complete. All personnel return to your ships immediately. Lee looked around at his remaining Marines. They had accomplished their mission, but they were surrounded by thousands of Torvan ground forces with no clear path to their extraction point. You heard the Admiral, he told his team. Time to go home. What happened next became the stuff of legends. 12 human Marines, cut off from their evacuation route and facing impossible odds, fought their way through the ruins of an alien city to reach their extraction point. They used guerrilla tactics, human weapons, Volani industrial equipment, and pure determination to carve a path through enemies. The Kalis system was a graveyard. Admiral Park Hae-jin stared at the main view screen as the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. Where 2 planets had once orbited their star, Only empty space remained. The Torvin had consumed them completely, leaving behind nothing but scattered metallic debris floating in the dark. "My God," whispered Captain Lee Dongwook, standing beside her on the bridge of the Thunderstrike. They ate entire planets. The third planet, Kalis Prime, still existed but barely resembled the world shown in their databases. Massive scars covered its surface where the Torvin had stripped away continents of material. The atmosphere glowed with an unhealthy orange, light from the fires burning across what had once been forests and cities. "Sensor report," Admiral Park ordered, though she could already see the nightmare with her own eyes. "Ma'am." The sensor officer's voice was tight with shock. "I'm reading over 10,000 Torvin bioships in this system. They're swarming around Kalis Prime like insects around a corpse." Dr. Kim Min-ho studied his displays, analyzing the alien ships. Each Torvin vessel was a living creature bred for war and destruction. They ranged in size from fighters the size of human shuttles to massive capital ships that dwarfed even the largest human dreadnoughts. Their surfaces rippled with organic armor that could heal battle damage, and weapons grew from their bodies like claws and teeth. "Admiral," the communications officer reported, "I'm picking up faint signals from the planet's surface. The Villani are still broadcasting, but the signals are weak and scattered. Can you clean it up?" After a few moments of work, Cathara's voice filled the bridge once again, but now it came from underground, transmitted through makeshift equipment. "This is Research Station 12. We have 43 survivors in the bunker complex beneath the old capital. Food supplies will last maybe 3 more days. If anyone can hear this, please hurry. The Torvin are everywhere above us." Admiral Park felt something cold settle in her stomach. They had come so far, moved so fast, mobilized everything they had, and they might already be too late to save anyone. "Ma'am," Captain Lee said quietly, "the Torvin are moving toward us. It looks like they've detected our presence." The bioships began to shift their formation, turning away from their systematic destruction of Kalis Prime to face the new arrivals. Even at maximum magnification, the alien vessels looked wrong somehow. Too organic, too alive to be ships. They moved like a school of predatory fish sensing new prey in the water. "All ships, this is Admiral Park," she broadcast to the entire human fleet. "We came here to save lives. I see people down there who need our help, and I see about 10,000 reasons why the galaxy thinks we can't give it to them. Prove them wrong." The Torvin attack came fast and without warning. The first wave consisted of thousands of smaller bioships that swarmed toward the human formation like angry hornets. They moved in perfect coordination, each creature knowing exactly where every other creature would be at any given moment. Commander Choi Soo-jin led the Soul Reapers out to meet them. Her fighter squadron launched from their carriers and accelerated into combat at speeds that would have killed most alien pilots from the G-forces alone. But humans were built for punishment, evolved on a world where survival meant enduring conditions that would destroy other species. "Contact in 30 seconds, she reported to the fleet. "These things are fast, but they're also predictable. They're moving like a hive mind. Perfect coordination, but no individual initiative." The first clash was brutal. Torvin bioships fired bursts of some kind of acidic projectile that ate through armor like it was paper. But human weapons, lasers, missiles, and railgun projectiles, tore through the alien creatures' organic hulls just as effectively. What the Torvin hadn't expected was human tactics. Where they fought as a single coordinated entity, humans fought as individuals working together. Commander Choi's pilots used the asteroid debris from the consumed planets as cover, appeared from unexpected angles, and coordinated with the larger ships in ways the hive mind couldn't predict. "This is Reaper 7, reported Lieutenant Park, Young Min over the communication net. "I've got 3 of them on my tail, but they're following a predictable attack pattern. Reaper 3, can you get behind them?" "Copy that, 7. Coming around now." The small Torvin ships exploded in bursts of organic matter as human fighters tore them apart. But for every alien vessel destroyed, 2 more took its place. The swarm seemed endless. Captain Lee watched the battle from the Thunderstrike's bridge while coordinating the fleet's movements. The larger human ships formed a protective formation around their carriers and support vessels, their massive weapons reaching out to destroy Torvin capital ships at long range. These bioships heal themselves, Dr. Kim reported, watching his sensors. But slowly, if we can do enough damage quickly, we can destroy them before they can regenerate. The battle raged for hours. Human ships fought with a desperation born of knowing that innocent lives depended on their success. They took damage that would have crippled other species' vessels and kept fighting. Engineers worked frantically to repair systems while battles raged around them. Medical teams treated wounded crew members who refused to leave their posts. But the Torvan numbers were overwhelming. For every bioship the humans destroyed, more emerged from breeding facilities hidden throughout the system. The alien hive mind adapted to human tactics, learning to counter their unpredictability with sheer overwhelming force. "Admiral," Captain Lee reported grimly, "we've lost 17 ships. The Torvan are starting to break through our outer perimeter." Admiral Park watched the tactical display and saw the truth of their situation. They were fighting bravely, but they couldn't win through simple firepower. The enemy had too many ships, too much coordination, too much experience destroying civilizations. But humans had something that Torvan had never encountered before: the absolute refusal to give up when lives were at stake. "All ships begin combat landing operations," she ordered. "We can't win this fight in space, but we might be able to save the Volani survivors on the ground." "Ma'am," Captain Lee said carefully, "landing operations under this kind of fire, we'll lose half our people. And if we don't try, we'll lose all the Volani. Begin the landings." Human dropships and assault shuttles launched from their carriers, while the main fleet continued to fight the Torvan swarm above. These smaller craft dove toward Keyless Prime's surface, using the orbital battle as cover for their descent. Dr. Kim coordinated with Cathara's transmissions to locate survivor groups. "I'm reading 17 separate bunker complexes still transmitting," he reported. "Most of them have between 20 and 50 Volani each, maybe 800 total survivors on the entire planet. 800 lives. Such a small number compared to the billions who had lived on Keyless Prime before the Torvan arrived." But Admiral Park had not brought nearly 900 human warships across the galaxy to save numbers. She had come to save people. The first human Marines landed near Cathara's bunker complex. These soldiers wore powered armor designed for fighting in the worst environments imaginable: the crushing depths of Europa's ice-locked oceans, the radiation-soaked battlefields of the asteroid belt, the toxic atmosphere of Venus's cloud, cities. The Torvan ground forces were massive insectoid creatures, each one the size of a human tank. They had been systematically hunting down the Volani survivors, digging them out of their hiding places like an exterminator clearing out pests. But they had never fought humans before. Sergeant Major Lee Sung-ho led the first squad into the ruins of the Volani capital. His armor sensors showed dozens of Torvan creatures between his position and the survivors they were trying to reach. Each alien was armed with natural weapons: claws that could cut through steel, acid glands that could dissolve rock, and armored carapaces that could stop most energy weapons. "Spread out," he ordered his team. "These things are big, but they're slow. Use your mobility, stay at range, and watch for the acid spit." The urban combat was unlike anything the Marines had trained for. The Torvan creatures moved through the ruins like living tanks, tearing apart buildings to get at their prey. But humans moved like ghosts, appearing from unexpected positions to strike and disappear again. Human weapons, designed to fight, in space, underwater, and in every hostile environment Earth's solar system could offer, proved devastatingly effective against the organic Torvan warriors. Armor-piercing rounds punched through their carapaces, plasma rifles burned through their natural armor, and explosives shattered their massive forms. But the real advantage was tactical thinking. Where the Torvan operated on instinct and hive mind coordination, humans planned, adapted, and improvised solutions to problems the aliens had never imagined. "This is Bravo Team," reported Corporal Kim Hai-Soo over the communication net. "We've reached the first survivor bunker. The Volani are scared but unharmed, beginning evacuation to the dropships." Similar reports came in from teams across the planet. Human soldiers fought their way through Torvan positions to reach bunker complexes, then escorted terrified Volani civilians to waiting evacuation craft. Kethara emerged from her underground laboratory to find herself face to face with Sergeant M. The human fleet moved through hyperspace like a storm front racing across an ocean. Admiral Park Hae-jin stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderstrike, watching the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel through the main view screen. Around, her 847 warships traveled in perfect formation, their crews preparing for a battle that might end their species' future in the galaxy. Admiral, Captain Lee Dong-wook reported from his station, "We're receiving multiple communications from the Galactic Council. They're demanding we turn back." "Let me hear it." High Counselor Raxim's voice filled the bridge, speaking in the formal tones of galactic diplomacy. "Admiral Park, the Axiran High Council formally requests that human forces cease this dangerous course of action. The Torvan swarm cannot be defeated by conventional means. Your attack will only result in the unnecessary death of human personnel and may provoke the swarm to expand their territory." Park Hee-jin listened to the entire message, then looked at her communications officer. "Send a reply. Tell the council that we appreciate their concern, but we're not turning back." "What should I tell them about our reasoning, ma'am?" "Tell them someone asked for help." The communications officer looked confused but sent the message anyway. The reply came back within an hour, this time from Grove Singer Yilin of the Thornid Collective. "Honored humans," the plant being's message began, "we understand your brave hearts wish to help. But bravery without wisdom leads only to beautiful death. We will sing songs of your courage when you are gone, but we would rather you live to hear them." Dr. Kim Min-ho worked in his laboratory deep inside the Thunderstrike, studying everything. The human databases contained about the Torvan. The information was limited. No one had ever survived close contact with a swarm to report back. What they knew came from long-range observations and the remains of consumed worlds. "The Torvan bioships are living creatures," he explained to the senior staff during a briefing. "They can heal damage, adapt to weapons, and coordinate perfectly through some kind of hive mind. Each ship is basically a giant, space-going insect, with weapons grown into its body." "Weaknesses?" asked Admiral Park. "Unknown. Every species that has fought them has been completely destroyed. The Zephyrian Empire lasted 6 days. The Kaldan Republic held out for 2 weeks before their last planet fell." Captain Lee frowned at his datapad. "What about the Villani themselves? What do we know about the people we're trying to save?" Dr. Kim's expression softened slightly. "They're artists, scientists, philosophers. Their entire civilization is built around creating beautiful things and understanding the universe. They've never fought a war in their recorded history. They literally don't know how to fight back." In another part of the ship, Commander Choi Soo-jin put her fighter pilots through endless combat drills. The Soul Reapers were good. They had trained for years in Earth's asteroid belts and fought in the brutal colonial wars around Jupiter's moons. But they had never faced anything like the Torvan. "Remember," she told her squadron leaders, "these things are fast and they work together perfectly. They'll try to swarm us, get inside our formation, and tear us apart from within. We need to stay loose, stay mobile, and watch each other's backs." Lieutenant Park Jung-min, her youngest squadron leader, raised his hand. "Commander, what if the bioships really can adapt to our weapons like the reports say? Then we'll adapt faster. Humans are good at that." Across the fleet, similar preparations were taking place. Marines checked their assault armor and practiced fighting in alien environments. Engineers worked to modify weapons and equipment for combat against living ships. Medical teams prepared for casualties unlike anything they had treated before. The other species of the galaxy watched these preparations with a mixture of awe and horror. The Axirans had calculated the odds of human success at exactly 0.003%. The Thornids had already begun composing mourning songs. Only the mysterious Vextar remained silent, their crystalline minds processing information no one else could understand. "They're going to die," High Counselor Raxim said to his advisors as they watched long-range scans of the human fleet. "And when they do, the Torvan will be angry. They might expand their hunting territory to include other systems. Should we prepare our defenses?" asked one of his subordinates. "What defenses? The Torvan have never been stopped before. All we can do is hope they go back to sleep after they finish with the humans. On the bridge of the Thunder Strike, Admiral Park received another message, this one from Earth itself. President Kim Tae-hyun appeared on the screen, speaking from his office in New Geneva. Admiral, I want you to know that Earth stands behind your decision. The Colonial Council has voted unanimously to support this mission. Whatever happens out there, you have the full backing of humanity. Thank you, Mr. President. We won't let you down. I know you won't. But Park, the President's voice grew serious. Don't try to be heroes. If the situation becomes hopeless, fall back. The human race needs its best admiral alive. After the transmission ended, Captain Lee approached his superior. Admiral, you really think we can win this? Park Hae-jin was quiet for a moment, staring at the hyperspace display. I don't know, Captain, but I know we have to try. The Vellani are dying while the rest of the galaxy debates and calculates odds. Sometimes you have to act first and worry about the consequences later. That's very human of us. Yes, it is. Deep in the ship's computer core, artificial intelligence, systems worked alongside human analysts to develop battle plans. They studied every recorded interaction with the Torvin, looking for patterns or weaknesses that previous civilizations had missed. The AI systems were themselves a source of fear among other species. The idea of artificial minds working alongside biological ones seemed dangerous to most aliens. But humans had learned long ago to work with their creations rather than fear them. The AIs were partners, not servants, and they brought unique perspectives to the coming battle. One AI, designation Area 7, made an interesting observation during planning session. The Torvin operate as a perfect collective consciousness. This gives them enormous strength and coordination, but it might also be a weakness. Collective minds have trouble adapting to truly unpredictable behavior. And humans are unpredictable? Asked Dr. Kim. Humans are chaos given form and purpose, Area 7 replied. It's one of your most terrifying and wonderful qualities. As the fleet neared its destination, reports from Keyless Prime grew worse. The Torvin had consumed 2 of the system's smaller planets entirely, leaving only metallic cores behind. The main planet showed massive atmospheric damage from strip mining operations that tore through cities and wilderness, without regard for the life they destroyed. Estimated time to arrival? Admiral Park asked. 4 hours, ma'am, replied the navigation officer. Signal all ships. Combat stations in 3 hours. I want everyone ready for immediate engagement the moment we drop out of hyperspace. Across the fleet, klaxons began to sound. 847 ships filled with humans who had never seen the Vellani homeworld prepared to die defending it. In the holds of transport ships, relief supplies waited to help survivors. Medical ships stood ready to treat alien wounded using techniques they had never tried before. The irony was not lost on anyone involved. The species the galaxy called Deathworlders, too violent, too dangerous, too unpredictable to trust, were the only ones willing to answer a desperate plea for help. In her laboratory bunker on Keyless Prime, Keith Ara still maintained her broadcasts, though she no longer expected anyone to answer. Above ground, her world died piece by piece. But in the darkness between stars, help was finally coming. The galaxy was about to witness something unprecedented, a species willing to fight impossible odds not for conquest or resources, but simply because someone had asked for help.